Hi, I'm Crystal Lee, owner of Loverly Photography, and welcome to Loverly TV. This is Behind the Loverly Lens, a series where I interview past couples and wedding professionals to get their first-hand experience, expert advice, and personal tips for planning your wedding. It's my hope that you will find these videos informative and valuable on your journey to plan the perfect day. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Loverly TV. So, hi Dave.
Hello.
Hi. So on the show today, we have my wonderful friend, Dave Tebbutt. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me. This is great.
Good. I'm so happy to have you here. Dave is an exceptional cinematographer, videographer. What do you prefer to go by? Cinematographer or videographer? What resonates more?
I think when I do weddings, I just say videography because a lot of people don't even know what cinematography is. But then if I do film world, I could consider myself that, but it just sounds so professional, you know? But yeah, I don't really care. I don't have a preference, but I probably say videographer more than cinematographer.
Amazing. And you and I we met at a wedding, 2 years ago, I think, like
Yeah.
officially met.
Yeah. I remember was it at Chateau de Charmes or did we ran into there we also ran into each other at Chateau.
Yes,
Well,
we
we were
did.
shooting a wedding.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right.
It was a
Uh,
January wedding we did together at
yeah,
Hernder.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
just remember meeting you and just thinking you were so wonderful, and I just loved your presence and your personality, and we just really jived so well together, and I've enjoyed every opportunity to get to see you and work with you since. So
Thank you. Yeah, yes, likewise, same. It's fun, like in the industry. I'm always trying not taking a back seat, but I always say like I give the photographer the reins of the day. They're a bit more vocal. They're kind of coaching the couple more than I am. So I try to do my best to just jive with any photographer I work with. And yeah, you've always been great to work together. So hopefully we can shoot more weddings together this year.
yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I get that question sometimes from couples. They like, how are you guys working with? How do you work with a videographer? And it's just like, because I think that there's been so many horror stories of photographers and videographers, and I don't know why there was ever this I don't know, riff between the two, like if they were different companies or something. Cause like I've never had a problem with any of the
Yeah.
videographers I've worked with, but I know sometimes when I've met new videographers and they kind of have a wall, like I don't know if they've had like a wall up, like they're afraid of me or something. Like they've had a really bad experience maybe in the past with other photographers. Is that like a thing?
It can be, but like I said, I kind of take the backseat approach just
Yeah.
because um I never want to have tension on a wedding day, especially with vendors. But
Yeah.
there's been a few times over the years where not that I didn't connect with the photographer, but I just wasn't really jiving with their style of shooting. So I would just let them get their shots and I wouldn't really shoot it. And
Yeah.
then I would just say, hey, do you mind if I take a couple minutes and just get a couple shots? And they've always been, always nice about it. So I've never had any horror stories. But sometimes it just works really well when you just both connect on personality and the shooting style. So then it just makes the day go a bit more smoothly. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've never had any crazy stories working with other photographers. But I think I'm in a unique situation. There's a few people like me, but I shoot alone as well. I have
Mhm.
a pretty small setup, so sometimes other photographers message me and they're like, "Oh, I wish I was shooting with you today because I'm now with this like Toronto company. They got 3 videographers and then a guy on their laptop doing a same day edit, and it's just like chaos. So I've tried to steer away from overly producing, if that makes sense. Like I want to make a good video, but I also want the couple to not feel like they're on like a TV show or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I know. I totally get that. Like sometimes the productions can get so big that
yeah,
it's like you're on like you said, a TV show or a film set, and it can get a little crazy when you're trying to navigate between a few different shooters, right?
yeah, definitely.
Especially if like there's two photographers and then now you've got like three videographers.
Yeah, five people. It's pretty. Yeah, it can be.
That's a lot.
Um, yeah, you're right.
But no, it's good. And so you work alone, which is amazing. Um, and you've always worked alone.
Yeah, definitely. I never even really like had this day where I announced, okay, I'm a wedding videographer. It sort of happened like even in my teens, like even in high school, I was shooting wedding videos in high school, believe it or not. And then you know how it works with just referrals. You do one, then someone's there, whether it's someone in a wedding party, they're engaged, they see the video, they contact you. Um, so I always just started by myself. So it never felt like it's not like I was ever with a company and then I broke away and it was like, oh wow, how am I going to figure this out?
Yeah.
I just kind of rolled with it. Each and every wedding, I slowly invested in more gear. But the first few weddings I did were definitely really rough from a standpoint of like I just didn't have the gear. Like I had one camera, one lens, and one 16 gigabyte card. So I was like literally like dumping footage onto a hard drive throughout the day. I'm like, this is terrible.
I've done that. Yeah, I did that with
I
some of
was
my
like,
first few weddings. Like, yeah, the smallest gigabyte cards and only one slot on my camera. And like,
yeah,
I had my laptop, and I'd be like, sorry guys, we have to take a break. I have to load these photos onto my laptop. It's like, and
yeah,
this is why you're only paying, $800 for me to be here.
yeah, yeah. Like the first few I did was like $200 or $300, I remember. And
Mm.
I finally was like, oh yeah, I just got $300 from a wedding. I'm gonna go buy a memory card. And I'll never forget, I bought a 16 gigabyte memory card and it was like almost $300. I was like, oh well, there goes that.
Yeah.
But now you can get 200 gigabyte cards for that price. So it's pretty wild. But
I have like 6 128 gigabyte cards,
yeah,
like
yeah,
in my
yeah.
back pocket,
Pretty wild. So no,
Yeah.
it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
So like, let's get into it. Like, tell me about your business, your company, what services you offer. How long have you been around? How did you get your
Yeah,
start?
yeah, for sure. My company's just my name, very, very original. Dave Tebbutt Films. I've been shooting since I think I did my first wedding when I was 18. So it's like my 14th year in the wedding industry. Yeah, I've been doing it solo. Recently passed the 500 milestone mark, shot 500 weddings, crazy. And just my goal is just to jive with couples, have fun. I think I'm unintentionally, my brand is becoming just like staying late and partying with wedding parties and bride and grooms. It's fun. Like it's weddings are fun. I know it's
Yeah.
COVID now, so it's a little bit different, but um, I've always just been about making films and less about like the contract and the business side of things. If I'm being honest, I just like to meet people and film all the fun moments and put it together to some great music and do the same thing the next weekend.
That's so on brand for you, for sure.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
get that from you, you
Thank
know?
you. Yeah, yeah.
And I remember like when I asked you like, oh, what's your website? And you're like, it's a YouTube. And I was like, how are you doing business with just a YouTube channel, Mr. Dave Tebbutt? And seeing your YouTube channel and how many followers you have on there, and like, how many have you passed now? Like, I remember when you had your, like, was it 10,000 or 100,000?
No,
Or
I think I
something?
have like around 30,000 subscribers, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is like not actually like people that are true, to be honest. Like I've had a few videos kind of go viral. So I think most of the subscribers just come from that video alone. But yeah, I've got a lot of videos on there. But I started like I did have a website and I was paying, I don't know, how you pay a couple of bucks a month or something for it.
Yeah.
And it just looked it was just terrible. And I just didn't really care to promote it or push it. And then at the time, YouTube came out and they had like you could upload as many videos as you want. They didn't have any like file size restrictions. So I was just like, I'm gonna start uploading to YouTube because I'm cheap. I'm only getting a couple $100 for a wedding. Like I just want a free website. And
Yeah.
I think at the time it looked unprofessional. Like, who is this guy? This guy just has a YouTube channel. Like, you know what I mean? But I think now that I do have some traction on that site, it looks a little bit more legitimate.
Yeah.
But that's still to this day, I use YouTube. I still don't have a website. So yeah.
Amazing. And that doesn't slow you down, for sure. Like, you are one of the most booked up people I've ever met. Like, I'm constantly trying to get you to work on a wedding with me, and every time I give you a date, you're booked.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely that snowball effect. I think I've
Yeah.
been trying to shoot a lot over the years, and then obviously, it's kind of simple. The more you shoot, the more referrals you're going to get, right? So
Yeah.
if some people want to shoot 10, 15 weddings a year, and I get that, but then you're only getting 15 clients advertising your work. Whereas if you shoot like 40, 50, 60 weddings a year, you're getting triple the advertising for free.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I've been able to sort of maintain a pretty high volume of weddings, just because it's just year after year, you kind of keep staying relevant and keep people do all the advertising for us, like
Yeah.
with Instagram and Facebook, it's free advertising. It's great.
Yeah.
So
So how many weddings on average do you shoot a year?
I try to hit the 50 mark. Like I know that might sound like a lot, but I have a really good system now where it doesn't stress me out like it used to. I think just because I'm a faster editor now. But yeah, that's always my goal. I try to hit around 50 weddings a year, like break it down to like almost one a weekend. but it doesn't work out that way. As we know, the winter is very slow. And then in the summer, I'm doing a lot of Friday, Saturday situations. So,
Yeah, I when COVID in 2020 when COVID happened, I had 40 weddings on my books that year, and that was my
oh,
biggest year
good
ever.
for
And I
you.
was so excited, and I had like, some like 6 different weekends where I was like Friday, Saturday, some of them Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I was like really nervous about going into it like that, but I was like, I can do it. I'm going to do this. And then that COVID happened, and all those weddings got moved.
Yeah.
So I still ended up with 22 weddings last year.
Nice.
So
Good for you.
I didn't do too bad. And it was, but I'm like you, I have a really good system. I'm super efficient with my editing, and I turn around full photography galleries within 2 weeks.
Wow. Amazing. Good for you. I
Yeah.
don't know if I've
So
ever heard of that from a photographer. So
yeah,
that's amazing. That's basically my
absolutely.
turnaround time
Sometimes
as
a week.
well.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have it to them
Um,
by the time I hit my next wedding next Saturday. I've already delivered the wedding from the weekend before,
yeah.
if I
I
can.
hear I've talked to vendors about this when we're at, at a vendor table and just chatting. And there's been times where people say they finished the video or the photos, and then they'll almost withhold it just because they want to almost delay
Yeah.
their product. I don't know if it's just to sort of justify the price point, but I'm like, no, if you're done, like it's more, the faster you get them the product, it's more of a wow factor. I like to send people their video when they're on their honeymoon,
Yeah.
because that's when they're talking about their wedding. They're, oh, remember this, remember that. And then they can watch it all, as opposed to if you send them their video and 4 months after their wedding,
Yeah.
that's old news.
100%. Yeah.
So turnaround
Yeah.
time is huge. Like that's my biggest advice to anyone who wants to become a wedding photographer, videographer, would
Mhm.
be try to have an efficient system. Because we live in a age now of people want content and they want it fast.
Yeah. And we have the ability to do it. Like it doesn't, I don't even know how it changed for me. I actually, in 2019, I outsourced a part of my editing. And I guess maybe that's when I got really good at the system. But then when COVID happened, I canceled that service
Yeah.
because it was way too expensive for the little amount of work I had been doing with being shut down. Right. So, but from there, I already had sort of my system in place. I just had to like do the one part myself. But I got so good at it that it's super easy. It takes me like no time,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Nice.
So, and I'm fast like you, like at the culling and doing all like sort of the basic stuff. So, and I mean, I do have a process. So they get their full gallery and it comes color corrected, lighting adjustments and cropped. And then my stylized presets applied. And then they get to pick like their top, depending on package, like 40 or 60 images that they want the special editing to, like the teeth whitening, skin softening, blemish
Oh,
removal,
cool.
all that. And then
Wow.
I'll go in and yeah, do those. And then that's like a 2 week turnaround for those.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I didn't even think you would offer that, but that's amazing. I'm sure people really appreciate that if,
Yeah.
they can touch something up. Nice.
Well, and then it saves because I think a lot of photographers, what they'll do is they'll do that type of editing to every photo, or like they'll do it to like majority of the photos where I'm like, they're not going to use all these photos. And I'm giving them like, 1,000+ image galleries. So
Wow.
I'm not going to waste time going through and taking out that zit out of every single photo when
Yeah.
like they might not use it. Right. So I'm like, here's your basic. And for the most part, 9 times out of 10, they don't even come back for the extra edits because they're like,
Yeah.
they
Nice.
don't need it. Right. So it's like, if you want these extra edits, you pick the photos that are most important to you, and I'll do that extra editing to those.
Wow. Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Probably helps with booking too. Like again, customer service I find is huge in the industry as well. Like the product has to speak for itself, but if
Yeah.
you leave someone with a good impression and a good vibe, they're obviously more likely to tell someone they know that's engaged about you. So that's nice. Good for you to do that. I try to do the same. I
That's
I
great.
I will do re-edits if someone wants a shot removed or a shot added. Um, Definitely. My goal is for them to be like super stoked to share the video. So
That's
uh,
amazing. And actually, I've never heard of a videographer with such a quick turnaround time, too. So good
yeah,
for you.
nice.
Yeah. See,
There
we're
we
such
go.
a great team.
There we go. I know for sure.
You hire us, you're going to have all your deliverables within like a month, less than a month,
Literally. Yeah,
just a few weeks, and you got all your stuff.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I that's good. I like that.
If you weren't so busy and so like
It's
already
what well
booked up.
it's I mean I'm grateful to be busy, but it's
Yeah.
the one thing that never like it always blows me away is how far in advance weddings book. Especially now with COVID.
Yeah.
I've had 23 inquiries. I'm like, I don't,
No,
that's
me
so far
too.
away.
Yeah, I have
Um,
a couple going right now for 2023. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I get it. Like if you want to have a specific vendor team and you want a specific venue, like
Yeah.
you should book 2 years in advance. Like it's pretty, it's a pretty long engagement, but then you can get everyone that you want, I guess.
Yeah, and it gives you more time, I think, to save. I think that's really good for like the couple that are budget conscious because it gives you more time to like spread out your payments and like save up for the things that like now you know exactly how much they're going to cost. And
Yeah, definitely.
yeah,
For sure. Nice.
very cool. Okay, so why do you love capturing? Like, what is the why for you? I like asking people this question. Like, what drives you? What fuels you? What made you decide that like weddings is what was your jam?
Yeah, I mean, I love meeting like random people, to be honest. Like I have a few close friends, but it's weird. I'm like kind of introverted, kind of extroverted. I think weddings is like it's definitely a rush for me. Like I'm on the dance floor and the bride and groom's coming in and they're doing their first dance and like I got to be the guy to like spin around them and capture those cool moments. And I just love driving with wedding parties, whether I'm on like the limo bus with them or hanging out with the groomsmen in the morning. Like if anyone offers me, hey, you want to do a shot of whiskey? I'm like, yep, let's do it. Make it a double. So I just feel like I can really just connect with people that I've literally never met before, but
Yeah.
just to be approachable and have fun. Like you're spending 12, 14 hours with these people, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm spending more time with the bride and groom than like most of the family. So um, just to be able to connect with people like that is really fun. It's rewarding.
Yeah.
Um, but also like if I'm being totally transparent, there's also the financial side too. Like a lot of things don't pay like weddings, if I'm being honest. Like
Yep.
I've taken this I've gone down the route of corporate work and music videos and real estate videos, and people just don't have the same budgets as they do for weddings. So there's that element too, where you can really grind and work hard in the summer and I can take the winter off. I like that aspect, if I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going south for most of my winters. So to be able to take 2 months off, stress free is amazing.
Yeah, I do welcome the winter sometimes too. By that time, like, you just like hitting the fall crazy busyness and then it's just like it just drops in like December and it's like, okay, I
Yeah,
can breathe for a minute.
totally. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is nice. I wouldn't want to shoot weddings year round.
like
Um,
that.
like at that pace, 2 or 3 a weekend. Um, so it's nice to kind of go crazy in the summer and then kind of come October, slow her down a little and do the odd wedding, January to March.
Yep,
But yeah, it's cool.
that's great. Um, so like when couples are trying to book or thinking about booking a videographer, I feel like videography seems to always be like that afterthought, or if they have a little extra money, then they like it's like the luxury item that comes after photography. So like, but I see videography as like a really good, like I think you should have both, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of like videography definitely like photography tells the story of your day for sure, but videography does have this other layer of element. I mean, like you can't hear the vows in a photo,
Mhm.
right? Or the speeches or, the laughter. So for you, like, how does that feel like when it's like an afterthought, or like, why do you think couples should really consider videography in the forefront of their booking process?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That does happen to me a lot. Like, it's very rare that I'll get booked before a photographer. I think people, they look for the photographer, they find out what that's going to cost them, and then they say, "Oh, if we've got X number of dollars left over, we will look for a videographer." Um, and I just think it wasn't as common, 5, 10 years ago. But I've said this, and I don't mean offense to photography, but I almost see videography catching up and also being just as important, if not more important, in 10 years from now. Obviously, photography people will always have wedding photography for sure, but um, I don't know. A lot of people that I talk to, they've said that they watch their wedding video more than they look at their photo album. Not that they don't like their pictures, but you just don't get the same emotion. Like, yeah, you can have a photo of someone standing at a podium, or you can like listen back to their speech, and you know what I mean. So, um, obviously, photography will always be um, something that's super important because people want
Yeah.
framed photos, they want the albums, they want stuff for the grandparents' fridges and over the fireplace. But like my wife and I printed a book of our wedding photos, and I think we only printed 50 photos. But I watched I made like a custom dance video of our party because we had Patrick from Liquid Entertainment do. He did we did like the silent beats or whatever it's called, like the headphone party. And
Oh,
I
fun.
I watched back that video like all the time just because it brings back, oh yeah, I remember it was so much fun, you know? And so to get the movement, to get the feel, the emotion is I think where people are drawn to. So I see there being a transition in the next 5, 10 years for sure, where
Yeah.
it's like almost just like every wedding has a videographer. Whereas now I don't think it's still as common. Like I talk to a lot of photographers and they're still like, there's not always a videographer at a wedding. It's still like not a permanent thing, you know, whereas every bride, you know, gets flowers or gets hair and makeup or gets photography. But I think videography will sort of get to that list sooner than later.
Yeah, I agree. And do you think like have you seen an uptick since COVID? Like have you been getting a lot more inquiries or a surge of inquiries? I think because people are now realizing like even more so that they need the videography because there's so many people that can't be at their wedding that they want to be able to share the experience with.
Yeah, definitely. I've done a lot of just like ceremony coverage. I've done a couple live streams. Um, for that reason. When people are now only allowed to invite 25 people to their ceremony, when they wanted to have 250 people, to have a 30-minute video of their ceremony, and then they can just blast everyone in their email and say, check this out. Um, that's pretty beneficial. So yeah, I think the post-COVID world, videography will keep taking off. But I do get it. Like weddings are expensive. When you really add everything up from food to alcohol to flowers, linens, hair, makeup, everything, like, yeah, you really do got a budget for it. And I can see why people just kind of don't get a videographer. But
Yeah.
um, a lot of people I think do regret it, unfortunately. They wish they look back on, oh, I wish I had that on video. I wish I had so and so's speech was so good, like no one filmed it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you so when you deliver to your couples, do you just give them like a 5 to 7 minute, film that you create, or do you also give them, the full ceremony, or like do you give them any of the raw materials? I know I get asked sometimes like, will I give my raw photos? And I always say no. But how does that work for your couples and your clients?
Yeah, I basically offer two packages at the moment. I'll have one package that is a 5-minute video, and I'll film all the speeches, and then I deliver that on Google Drive. I create Google Drive accounts for my couples just because I think, you know, the era of, well, DVDs are gone, and even USB sticks now. Like my Mac doesn't even have a USB stick drive anymore, so I think everything's just going digital. Um, and then I have a second package where I do give, like, I record the full ceremony. I'll give them all the raw footage. Personally, I don't. I know some people like have their opinion about that. Like I'll literally like give them all the raw footage. Like there's stuff that's probably just like absolute junk. Like any, you know, you're probably gonna take photos where everything's out of focus because your camera, whatever, did something weird. And
Yeah.
um, but I just literally like take all my footage, export it into one big file, and let them like. It truly doesn't bother me. I don't think people think that's a representation of my work. Like I think if anything, if they watch the raw footage and then watch my highlight reel, it showcases my editing skills, I guess. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll give everything away just because I think people really enjoy watching that back, for video, right? Like when they're getting their hair and makeup done in the morning and they're popping champagne and hanging out, like all the women like watching that, right? So
Yeah.
I have no problem giving all the raw footage.
And I think that might be that it's obviously a little bit different too, like from the videography versus like photography when it comes to the raws, I think, in the sense of like, I know for me, giving, it's like 5,000 images, like I'll
Yeah.
shoot off at a wedding. And then also like the fear of like someone else taking those raws and then editing them. Like it's already kind of an issue for some photographers where like
Yeah.
couples will put a filter on or something and make it look really not representative of my work. And then when people ask, oh, who is your photographer? And it looks like a garbage photo because
Yeah.
somebody did a bad job editing it. And then now they're going to think that I did that. Right.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So I think that's more so for me why
And you're
I don't.
probably taking so many photos of, um, like if you have a portrait session with a bride and groom, you could take like 60 photos and only like two of them you use, right? It's like whether they're blinking or they're out of focus, or you know your ISO was higher or lower than you thought it was,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of stuff that happens all the time, right?
Yes.
um So like for you to just give them 5,000 images seems like
Yeah,
totally crazy,
absolutely.
especially if you're delivering
I
around a
deliver a
thousand.
lot. Yeah, like, and I put, like, you'll get for like an 8-hour day, they'll get 500 to 800 photos is what I say for an 8-hour day, but I always over deliver and I tell them I don't hit 800 and be like, no more photos for you. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
if whatever's good, I give my clients. I don't hold them hostage on images. So if there's 1,000 good photos, they're gonna get 1,000 good photos. It really just
yeah,
depends on how things go for the day. Did we have great weather? Were we on time? Like all the things that were in flow, then you're probably gonna get a huge gallery.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Same with me. Like I'll offer my one package is basically a 5-minute video, and then my larger package is the 10-minute video. But there's been times where there's just so much good footage, and like they booked me for the 5-minute video, and it turns out to being like 8 minutes, just because I was like, I don't even want to leave this out. This is just
Yeah.
gold, right?
Right. Yeah. How do I take
So
this out? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it
So
almost takes more time for me if
yeah,
I do
yeah,
800 to have to go back and try to cull it down. Because
yeah,
when I used to outsource my editing. I had a limit. I could only get 800 edited by the company. So
yeah,
I would have to put the limit on at that point. And then, like, I'd have to keep going back. And I'm like, this is taking way more time than I need. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'd rather just give them the photos.
yeah, totally. Yeah, nice,
Like,
nice. But it is good to have like you'll a guarantee. You'll get whatever 500 images, right?
yeah,
So, but yeah, I hear you. Nice.
yeah.
We have a very similar approach. I like
I
it.
know. Me too. It's awesome.
So many people
Okay.
are just so. I get why contracts are in place, um, but I've seen it's too many times where like a photographer's booked for 8 hours, and then like it's like 8 hours and 20 minutes in, and then they're like, okay, I'm charging another $300, and it's like, okay, that's fair. Like if that's on your contract, that's on your contract. But
Yeah.
I always find it just leaves sort of a sour taste in the couple's mouth, and for me.
Yeah.
I get like if you're booked for 8 hours and they want you there for 10, like yeah, you can bill for that. But if it's like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, like
And
be
like
be
you said,
flexible, right? Like we are
yeah.
getting paid well, and to me, I'm not like just so binded to my contract. It's like just it's loosey goosey. It's there as like a guarantee, but also like
Yeah.
I'm gonna if your wedding's fun, I'm gonna stay late.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good guideline. And I'm like exactly like you said, like it's in my contract, that if I'm there past a certain time or whatever, I can charge, at their behest. But like I don't enforce that.
Yeah, yeah,
If there's unless like because if there's some that like if we're behind in the day or whatever and it's like an extra half an hour, 45 minutes even, like, that's fine. I'll stay if it means like we're gonna get the cake cutting and whatever that you needed that we didn't get yet, right?
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because and I mean like and that just comes, I think, like you said, like we're with them all day, like through every single beautiful, intimate moment of that day. And it's like we become like best friend. Like you're their wedding day best friend.
Yeah,
And how do you like turn around at the end of your day with your best friend and be like, if you want me to stay, you better pay me $300.
yeah, 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 for sure.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
I
like,
can see if it's like 2 or 3 hours more, then yeah, we can
yeah,
have a conversation about it. But I tell people like I don't even know if I've ever been to a wedding reception that ran on time. So
yeah,
like it's just
yeah,
with the flow and the food and the speeches and everything. So you just gotta have buffer room, and just remember like each wedding is a form of advertising, right? So
absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So do you have tips for couples who are looking to book their videographer? Like what are some good questions that they should ask? Like what should they be really looking for if they're looking to book a videographer?
I think style would be a big thing because there's so many different types of wedding videography. I get asked sometimes if I can almost follow like a script. Some people want like scripted content, like they almost give me a shot list. And I'm open to that, but I also kind of like to be more of like a fly on the wall documentary style. So I pitch that to my couples. Like I always like the feedback, like, oh, I didn't even know you were filming that, or I didn't even know you were in that room, because to be honest, people don't really like being on video. Like they want the moments captured, but video is kind of scary for a lot of people, right? So if you have someone that wants a certain scene scripted, then yeah, hire a company that like does that really well. There's Toronto-based companies that just kill it that way, where you're watching it and it's stunning, but it's like this is obviously like staged, like this, you know what I mean? This just wouldn't happen naturally. And obviously some stuff will always be staged in a wedding video,
Yeah.
but for the most part, I kind of keep it documentary style. So I think style would be definitely a big tip for people like just going in, what type of video they want out of it, because
That's
there's
funny.
so many different ways of editing.
Yeah.
You can produce any kind of content really. Some people want to read letters to each other in the morning, and that's cute. I like doing that. And some people just they don't even say their own vows. They'll just do like the traditional ones. So it all kind of depends on the couple's personality as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually, that was one of my questions for you, was like sort of how do you come up with, because I know for me, like I'm the same way. Like I'm like to be more fly on the wall. Even when I'm shooting, like I don't like to pose. I'm not a very dramatic pose type image taker.
Mhm.
Photographer.
Yeah.
I can speak. And yeah, like where some photographers, that is their style, right? They like the big dramatic scenes that they make, this big beautiful picture, or they, have the lighting and the flashes, and like that's all a look in itself. And that's not me, right? Like I'm like you, I like to think of myself more as a documentarian, really just capturing those candid natural moments, giving them really light prompts, and having like encouraging movement. Like I tell my couples, like, do not pose. I do not want you to pose. Do not even think about posing. I want you to be in the moment with your love, and I
Yeah.
want you to just like have a good time and be totally relaxed, and like let's have fun and make this an experience. Because when they're posing, I feel like it's just so awkward for everybody, and they're just not, they're not their natural selves, and that's when you're most beautiful. Like
Yeah.
anybody, you're like, you are your most beautiful when you're just being yourself.
Yeah. And you can
100%.
definitely tell when someone's like having a genuine laugh and a smile, and you just like capture that, as
Yeah,
opposed to like,
you feel it.
yeah, as opposed to like, okay, like tilt your chin up and look that way, and it just becomes like an hour of just this like model magazine shoot. And again, there's nothing against that. I'm not
Yeah,
trying to
it's
bash
just a different
photographers that
stuff.
do that, but
Yeah.
it just, I think sometimes you just I can see couples that I'm like, okay, they're done. Like they want to go to their cocktail hour.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess my question for you though was like, how do you, because for you, you're telling the story in such a different way though too, right? Because you have so many variables. It's not just the videography, like you're talking about audio and sound and music. And, like you said, sometimes you might have her reading something and him reading something, or, visualizing how you're going to tell the story after. Do you put thought into that before? Is it really just, you kind of work with whatever you get from the day? Or do you have sort of a vision in mind ahead of time?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just have like a mental template of how I put the videos together, but that's always that can change if I get a certain shot. Like sometimes when you're filming, you could just be like, oh, you just get a specific shot and you're like, okay, yeah, that's like the shot I'm opening the video with, or that's the shot I'm ending the video with, when they're the sparklers when they're coming down, at the end of the day and they're running through, like that's just a great closing shot, or if you get a really great drone shot of the venue, you can use that at the beginning. I don't know. It's almost like I'm mentally editing the video while I'm like driving home from the wedding. I'm like, oh, remember that shot I got? I want to use that closer to the beginning. Um, but I do like to incorporate like sound bites. Like 90% of my videos either have the vows or sound bites from the speeches, just because I think that does tie in the story of the day, and actual stories that people are sharing about the couple is always fun to look back on. So that is the most time consuming part, listening back to like
Yeah.
everyone's speeches. Not that I listen to the whole speech, but just try to finding, oh, that's a cool story to use. Or it's kind of weird though, in a way, like I'm analyzing like a 10-minute speech, I'm looking for like 20 seconds.
It's kind of
um
like when I do the previews for this show.
yeah.
I have to do the same thing. And I'm
Right,
like,
yeah, just
well,
find
trying to
it.
find a really good 20-minute soundbite
Yeah, yeah.
that fits.
So you get fast at that. Like a lot of times, I just go near the end, and when someone's wrapping it up, it's more
Yep.
sincere. A lot of speeches just start with like goofy stuff, and then at the end, they're like, "But seriously, I love you so much," that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I try to keep my videos like fun, but also sincere, and I don't know, yeah, just a representation of the day. So it's I actually find I think I prefer editing over shooting, to be honest. I don't mind shooting, but I think editing is kind of where I can
Right.
lock in my style.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, I do like shooting, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
No, that's
I've always liked editing. it's just fun. You just get all these clips and you're like, just get to build this puzzle from scratch, you know? Like if I gave you all the same footage, it would be a completely different video, you know?
Yeah,
So it's cool.
that is really cool. Actually, I never really thought about that way.
Yeah. Whereas
Um,
if you just have photos, you could color them differently, I guess. But
yeah.
video is just so much different from like, yeah, the music and the audio can vastly change the style of video.
How do you choose your audio? And I think and you compose too, actually, don't you?
So yeah, I do some like soundtracky stuff. I would never like sing on my
No.
own video, but I'll do like background music if there's like a nice instrumental that I want to use underneath their vows. Um, but there's certain sites I'll use music bed stuff, but then honestly, like if I'm putting my stuff on YouTube, if someone wants a specific song, and I'll check on YouTube to see if it gets flagged for
Mm,
like some stuff does get blocked and muted. But like YouTube's like just with the amount of content, I think they've sort of changed their guidelines. Like you can like upload almost like not everything, but like you can upload a lot of music to YouTube, and then I think the ad revenue and credit will go to the artist, which I'm totally okay with.
yeah.
Um, but I like couples to either pick songs or genre. You know, some people like country, some people like more instrumental, you know, pop, whatever.
Or will you take like their dance song, like whatever
Yeah,
they
sometimes I'll take, yeah, if they don't tell me, I'll kind of base it on the music they picked for their ceremony or their first dance, because I'm assuming if you pick the song for your first dance, you really like it. So
Yeah.
um Ed Sheeran's like I use a lot of his
Oh, I
stuff.
bet.
It's good on YouTube too. He's like I think
That was our
his
wedding song.
yeah.
We used two Ed Sheeran. I walked down the aisle to Ed Sheeran, and our first dance was to Ed Sheeran.
He's good. The guy's probably a billionaire, like with all
I
his
know.
royalties and ad revenue and like it's nuts.
I know. Um, so what can the average couple expect it? Like, you don't have to give me your pricing, or if you want to give me your pricing, it's totally up to you. But like, what would you like for people that are watching that are looking to book a videographer, cinematographer, considering it? Like, what should the average person expect to spend on someone that can provide like a quality product, that has
Yeah,
some experience behind them and like the average?
for sure. Yeah, I mean, no, I'm happy to talk about that. I created almost like a custom package for COVID. Um, so I'll basically charge anywhere from like 2,000 all the way up to 4,000. Really, I know that's sort of a big gap, but some people that just want like 5 hours of coverage and a 3-minute video, I'll obviously charge less. But some people that want like 12 hours coverage, like a full 10-minute video, full ceremony, obviously you're getting to the higher end. But yeah, I'd say like anywhere from 2 to 3,000 is sort of, I think, Niagara video pricing. I think when you get to the GTA, you're probably looking from like $3,000 to $5,000 for video companies. But yeah, I think anywhere from 2 to 4,000 is sort of a ballpark price. Anyone less than that, I haven't come across too many people that charge less than that. I'm sure there's people out there,
Yeah.
but that's sort of like a range. And I don't want to be the most expensive videographer. I want to have competitive pricing. I want to book a lot of weddings. So for me, I'd rather almost charge a little bit less and just do a lot and like, do a lot of volume, right? Again, I know it's a different approach. Some people want to just keep charging more and more and more every year, and I think you'll just slowly price yourself out of the industry. And I've seen that firsthand. I'm not going to name names, but I've seen people like literally price themselves out of the industry, and they book 2 weddings and they have to go find a part-time job.
Wow.
Uh, so yeah, it's not like every single year I'm trying to charge more. It doesn't work like that for me. So I
Yeah.
think you got to just kind of stay relevant and just kind of know what's out there and be competitive with that.
And I
Because there's
think
so many photographers too. Like you probably feel it more than I do. There's a lot of videographers, but there's probably in the Niagara region like hundreds, if not even 1,000 wedding photographers. Like it's crazy.
yeah.
So just to set yourself apart could be difficult, you know. So you got to look at all the variables.
Yeah, I think for me, I still feel like I undercharge for what I should probably be
Right.
making for the amount of time and love and money and effort and things that I
Yeah.
put into
Yeah.
my business. And I'm huge on customer service. Like I go above and beyond for my clients. Like I'm very communicative with them. Especially even more so during COVID. writing newsletters to them every week and just saying, hey, how's it going? How are you guys feeling? Like, is there anything I can do for you? Let's work together to get through this, just being that support system. I also created like a Facebook group for all of our Loverly clients that's exclusively for clients,
Yeah.
where, we can provide that extra level of support there as well by giving them any tips or things as COVID's developing or, things are happening. And then they can help each other too,
Cool.
because they're all in the same boat, right?
Yeah.
So just like I kind of do all that extra stuff, but I don't charge for all that extra stuff, because for me, it's just like, that's just a way I like to do business. And that's a way that I like to service my clients.
Yeah.
And it's really important to me, but I feel like it's more like the way I price it is I don't overcharge, I don't upsell, I don't worry about like what someone else is charging. Certainly I know that I'm on market value, like I'm pretty average as to what people of my level of experience are charging.
Yeah.
But I really work it based on like, what do I feel comfortable getting? Because I don't want to feel undervalued either. Because if you feel undervalued, then, by your clients, you're not going to enjoy it. And
No, you won't.
you're going to feel like you're just digging yourself a hole.
Yeah.
But also like, something, working out. Sorry, my voice keeps cracking out today.
No worries.
Just working out to make sure that like, because I not like you, I have a lot of expenses on my business. I mean, you found out such great ways to like save money by like just using YouTube.
Yeah.
But I have like an expensive CRM and, hosting site for all my galleries and things like that.
Definitely.
Plus like paying for that Creative Cloud suite, as you know, is for
Oh
Adobe
yeah.
expensive.
For
So,
sure. For sure.
yeah. So anyways, my cost of doing business is quite high. So I work based on that. Like, how much do I want to make to survive and like sustain and be a contributing member in my household and, pay our bills. And then also
Yeah.
like be able to keep my business afloat.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I try to tell people like, I think people just think we're getting, well, they don't think this way, but even if you think $3,000 for photography or 4,000, it sounds like a lot. And it is a lot. Like that's a lot of money. But
Yeah.
like I compare myself to like a wedding to me is honestly like probably a 30 to 40 hour job. So
Yeah.
if I charge 3,000 and it takes me 30 hours to do it, yeah, it's $100 an hour. That's good. Like that's good money, but that's the same kind of money I'm going to pay a mechanic to work on my car. That's the same kind of money I'm going to pay someone to paint my house. Like, not that I'm devaluing what they're doing, but I also think I'm coming to a wedding with a $6,000 camera, like we got gear, we got a lot of stuff. So I tell people,
Insurances
yeah,
and
it's a lot of money, but it's also like when you really break it down, um, it can go like you can spend that money quick.
yeah, like my
So
cost of doing business, it's $3,000 a month for me to run my business, whether I'm shooting or not. So that
yeah,
happens
wow,
all winter. Like, you know what I mean? Like those expenses are there.
for sure,
So that's like at least one wedding, right?
definitely,
That I would need to do a month just to pay for my business. And that, sometimes in the wintertime, I might have a whole month where I'm not shooting,
yeah,
or
yeah, no, for
COVID.
sure,
But and I think clients don't realize that too, that like, or people out there don't realize that like what we make in that wedding season and why we charge so much, because there's only so many dates that we can really do in that prime wedding season.
yeah,
And that money has to like keep us in business all
definitely.
year round so we can provide the level of service that we do for our clients.
No, that's a good point actually. Like even people really only get married on the weekends, right? Like you can have the odd. So even in the month of July, you
Yeah.
may have 8 days that you can work. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Whereas most people go to work Monday to Friday, they're working five days a week. They're working 20 days in a month.
Yeah.
Whereas we're only getting like 5 maybe if we're lucky. So yeah, you have to factor that in as well. So
Plus
yeah,
the time that oh,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's a unique industry for sure. It's also seasonal around here, so you have to price
Yeah.
for that. There's only probably 5 months of the year where you can really make your bread and butter. You can get the odd off-season wedding, but like you said, if you got $3,000 overhead in January and you don't book a wedding, that can be stressful.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And then I know you shoot alone, but I have an assistant always with me as well, because I found that like bringing on an assistant was invaluable for me, having some, especially like it's a physical job that we do. And I was basically feeling like I was getting crippled by, having two big cameras on a
yeah,
harness on my back all the time. So, I have an assistant there to carry my gear. And then also they're just that extra pair of eyes. They're carrying the clipboard. They're keeping us on track,
yeah,
adding
Yeah,
this.
I give a lot of credit to you guys. Like I do think the actual wedding day is a lot more intense for a photographer, just because you are given a shot list. You have all the family photos to pound through, um,
Mhm.
and you have to capture stuff in such a specific way that you need people's eyes to be open. Like for video, I can just roll. I can just like
Yeah.
record, and then I can just pick the clip I want to use. Where you actually have to get it in camera, So it can be stressful doing all the family portraits, and then in the evening with you're dealing with different
Lighting.
lighting styles, so having a assistant there to set up flashes, or oh hey, can you go grab that lens, I need this lens, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it definitely helps to have two people when it comes to photography, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Good. I know, right? I love having this conversation with you. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. I love to chat about the industry. It truly is a lot of fun being in weddings, and yeah, again, I'm happy to be chatting with you about this.
Yeah. I so speaking of like expensive gear and stuff, like you're to me one of my favorite videographers in Niagara, and I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your butt. I actually like really like I'm very picky when it comes to quality of product, and your quality is just phenomenal. In
Thank
my
you.
opinion, like your image quality is beautiful, and the quality of your editing and everything, but like specifically like your image quality stands out to me, and the way you shoot. So what do you like what, sorry, how do you feel that like what do you do to like stand out, I guess is what I'm trying to ask. Like what kind of equipment do you use, or what kind, like is there something you do specifically to like get that great image?
um i I mean, I use, I don't know, people watching this, the technical side of things, but I basically use a gimbal, and I'll have a sort of a 24 to 70 lens on there. I know it's not your best lens, but I like the versatility of having a lens where I can get a quick wide shot, and then boom, without even having to change the lens, I can now get a tighter shot. And the gimbal helps a lot. I think that might be what you're referring to when it comes to image quality.
Hmm.
Just having subtle movement is, it's sort of like this psychological thing that people don't really notice it, but they notice it when it's not there. If
Yeah.
every single shot is just on a tripod or handheld, um, that will just be a different vibe. And I like sort of that more flowy, like when you're like kind of spinning around the
Yeah.
couple, just like that slow movement. I do a lot of slow mo stuff as well. If the snow's falling, like I want like more of like a cinematic video,
Yeah.
almost like just like a short film. You watch it and it's just like wow, like people are like I'm in a movie. You know what I mean? um that helps, just having those lenses. Like I use a 70 to 200 a lot too, so you can get some really nice tight shots, the background's out of focus.
Yeah.
um so I like having that sort of that quality of image. I use like a Canon equipment. I think the skin tones are nice on Canon, so it saves me from doing a ton of color grading. But yeah, having the gimbal, I've been doing that the last 3 years now, and it's huge. It's just such a nice subtle way to watch a video back.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Like, and your videos really speak to that. Like anybody, if you go on his YouTube, and we'll post the link in the description for sure. I highly recommend checking out his videos, because I feel like I see a lot of other videographer work out there, and it just like yours stand out to me. You know, for that, I think like you said, yeah, it's the movement and
Even when they come down the aisle, when the couple's announced, I like to follow them down the aisle, and it just, you're almost feeling like you're walking with them,
yes,
and it's really cool. Whereas before I would just stand at the end of the aisle, and not that that's not a bad shot, but it just sort of changes um, the image, and how you're experiencing that, I guess. And so yeah, like just having the movement is huge. So I appreciate the fact that you can notice that and pick up on that, because yeah, it's cool.
yeah, and I do love your color grading. I love the way that you like. Do you have a specific? Is that like for me? That would be my preset, my look, my style. Like,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you have something similar like that you apply to the video that gives it that look?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I have what are they called? LUTs or LUTs? I don't even know what they're called, but I have like a custom one that I made in Premiere, and obviously I'll tweak it like with different. If you're outdoor or indoor, I'll bring down the intensity, but yeah, I definitely have a look. I think I kind of like to go for that more like the rich colors. I always try to keep the skin tones as good as possible, obviously, because that's what people notice. But I like just having like the deep, like the greens and the grass if it's an outdoor ceremony, or the blue skies and all that. I like nice rich coloring. So
Yeah,
yeah,
me too.
I find that helps. Some people more have that more desaturated look, and that's cool too. But I don't
Uh,
know. For me, I just kind of like more of the vibrant style.
yeah, me too. That's definitely how I edit. I always, it's funny, like I'll watch, like I'll look at all these other photographers who earn these presets that you can buy that are like moody and like really film and cinematic looking and like desatted, tones and textures, and like the grain's been brought up. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I work so hard to get rid of that grain. Why would I want to add that in?
yeah, yeah,
you know but also like, and I've tried to do more of that, like look, but at the same time, every time I do it, I'm like, no, I don't like it. I'll like might like it on one image, and then I'll try to apply it to a whole gallery, and I'm like, I can't do it. It's too
yeah,
much. I just always gravitate back to that natural. I love like nice clean skin tone, like natural skin tone. I don't, want it to look like a Cheeto. I don't want my bride to look like a Cheeto. You know, some of these presets can get a little crazy with the orange and
yeah. The oranges and the blues and everything. Yeah,
that. It's just like it's either way too warm or way too cold.
totally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I try to do minimal color grading. Like I try to nail it in camera, especially with video. Like you're shooting raw images, so you have a lot more flexibility. But I'm
Yeah.
not shooting raw video. Like I'm just getting a
Yeah.
MP4 out of my camera. So I really got to nail it in camera. So I'm always doing like custom white balance. Because even if I'm off a little bit, like it's sometimes hard to bring it back.
Well, and people don't realize, like when you're shooting, say, at a window, and then you turn around and shoot opposite of the window, it's a
Yeah,
completely different lighting setup, and it can totally change your color, your white
yeah,
balance, right?
everything
Like,
for sure.
and when you're moving fast at a wedding and things are happening, you don't have time to be like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
stop,
no,
everybody stop
definitely.
what they're doing. I need to,
Yeah, yeah. Got to change the lens. I forgot
gotta
how to.
change my white balance. 1 second.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me
You
run
guys-
over here with a light meter, and like, while the father's like waiting to do the first look with the bride or something.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like how disruptive that would be? Are there some things that like couples can do? Like I know I write some blogs and stuff for my couples on like how they can prepare for their photography on their wedding day. Things like finding a really great location for your getting ready shots, and like keeping it tidy and clean, so that it looks good in the background when you have your pictures. Is there anything or any kind of special tips that you give your clients to consider, or things for their wedding day with the videography?
Not specifically, no. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure we shoot in a lot of hotel rooms sometimes, and I try to declutter those.
Yeah.
And not a lot of hotel rooms are honestly that great to shoot in. So I'll always sort of suggest like, I don't know, going somewhere else by a big window. Because light is just huge, right? Especially, that like where you can position them. Um, but yeah, I'm like going back to the documentary side of things, like of
Mhm.
shooting. I never am bothered if like the photographer's in my shot, or the hair and makeup lady's in my shot. Like again, it's just more like I'm capturing like literally what your day is. And like there's a team of people there working. So if they're in the shot, if there's like Tim Hortons cups in the background, like no, that's not ideal. Like I don't want that. But also if it's like a really nice shot, I'm gonna use it too, So it's tricky. Like I don't wanna I don't know, never want to be the guy to just like declutter everything and okay, you have to only get ready there. You can only stand there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some people like to do that like reveal, right? Where they walk down the
Mhm.
staircase or something. But if you suggest like, sometimes you can suggest something to a couple and you can like quickly see like how they react. Like, do they want to actually do it that way? So I'd always pick like if the bride wants to do something a certain way and it's not what I actually want to do, I will still just do what the bride wants to do, like she's paying me, like
Of course.
not the other way around. So even if I'm like, man, that looked terrible, that first look with your dad would have been way better if you did it over there.
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever. It made you
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. I always get a laugh when like a client will say like, do you think we could get this photo, or like do you like on the day of the wedding, like, would you mind if we did? And I'm like, of course not. It's your day. These are
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
photos. I'm here for you. Like, what do you
yeah,
mean,
for
do I
sure.
mind? Just no, do it.
Do you ever get, I see this sometimes, do you ever get wedding party people coming up to you and asking if they can have like a portrait of themselves
Yeah.
for like
Or like
LinkedIn
them,
or
like
for,
their date. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, hey, can you take a photo? And then like they're like, text me it, or here's my email address. It's like,
Yeah.
I'll just give it to the couple. You could, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Just get it off the couple. Yeah. I'm not going to go specifically. I've
I'm
done
not
it,
like
I think,
everyone's
a couple times, but
portrait photographer now. Like I'm
yeah.
not like shooting everyone's LinkedIn profiles.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But
And
I
I
think,
always,
and do you ever do like people ask you to go around to each table and take a photo of each table or no?
yeah.
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 I
I
feel like
mean,
that's,
I'll do it. Usually it's yeah, in between courses or whatever. But I always feel so like because half the time some of the people are still eating and then
yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
like so encumbered by it and they're like, okay. Like sometimes they just don't want to be in the photo, but if the
Right.
wedding
Yeah,
group want it, we do it.
yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Um Speaking of things that like couples ask for that like maybe we don't like to do, same day edits. Is
Yeah.
that something that you offer and do? And how do you feel about them?
Yeah, I don't really say it in my packages, but I do offer it. I've done probably 5 or 6, and like I don't really do a lot of them. I think they're really cool. They're a great wow factor, but it just sort of changes the vibe of the day, and how I'm shooting, and like whether I'm there's been one like 2 times I actually did it myself, which was kind of insane. I was
I was
editing.
gonna say, are you doing those by yourself or do you actually hire someone for that?
I've done both. I wanted to try it once where I actually told the couple they wanted it, and I just said I'll do it. Like I was confident. I'm a fast editor. So I just did it during dinner by myself, and it was like insane. I said I'll probably never do that again. So then after that, I've hired an editor in the past, but it just sort of changes how I'm shooting, and then like you're having to give the footage, and then it sort of not slows down, but just sort of changes the pacing of shooting. And I prefer not to do them, but again, if people want it and they're willing to pay for it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I think
mean,
that's when you really need a team, like the companies that have 2 or 3 shooters and then an editor. That's when you definitely want a team pulling that off.
yeah. And I guess like I understand why some people want it, but at the same time too, I just, I don't see the point, I guess,
Yeah,
personally. Like, because you just lived that. Like, it's literally like we just did all that and now we're going to watch it, again
yeah,
as
yeah,
like
yeah.
a highlight reel or whatever. It's like, I just feel like there's other ways to entertain your guests that, you know, are good.
Definitely. Yeah, like I'd rather them spend money on like a live band or something than a same day edit.
Exactly. Yeah. Cause it
Um,
can be expensive because it's like a lot of work. It is not, I think
yeah,
some, maybe like you said, like some of these bigger videography companies make it look super simple and easy because they have the team behind them to throw it together. But when you're hiring someone more specifically for, because their personality, their product and skill and everything all resonates with you, but maybe like having something like, if it's just someone like Dave who's just by himself or like has to hire an editor, it just, like you said, it changes the dynamic, right?
yeah.
You'll still try to accommodate them and do it for them, but
If
it's a lot.
anything, I pitch to people rather than a same day edit, I'll do like a next day edit. You know what I mean?
Perfect.
So then they
Yeah.
can blast social media with that and have it for themselves.
And
And
share it with the people that weren't there. Yeah.
and then they save money too. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like a win-win. I know you're not showing it to people at the reception, but I'm with you. I don't really get it. Like, oh, we were just at the ceremony. Now we're watching it again. I don't know, but yeah, it's cool. Like
Yeah.
it can be a wow factor. It's like a great way to advertise. Like you're have a
Oh
room full of
yeah.
people. Got a room full
100%.
of
And I
people.
think
They're
that's
all coming
probably
up to
how,
me like,
yeah.
oh my god, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know, all the shrimp and the alcohol I was drinking.
And that's probably how it got started. It was probably some videography company thought, hey, this is a great way to advertise what we
Yeah,
can do. Let's do some same day edits.
definitely.
Let's talk about COVID. How was you said your year was actually pretty good last year. So what was the experience? Because I think it's different for everybody, but what was the experience like for you? Like what happened for you like when COVID hit? Like, what was your immediate reaction? Did you lose a lot of clients right away? Did they all move to next year? Was everyone pretty chill about it? And then like the clients that you did keep, what was the experience like for you?
Yeah, I think yeah. Well, it was like you said earlier. It was I think it's a year to the day now, right?
Yeah.
Today, a year ago. So as you were probably in the same boat, I felt like for March and April, I wasn't even a videographer. I was like a secretary, just like all the emailing and calling, and
Yeah.
everyone wanted to push, like it was unique because I think people underestimated. Remember, we were talking about like 2 weeks, flatten the curve, and then another 2 weeks. So people were pushing their May wedding, like May 2020 to like August.
Isn't that
And then
crazy?
we quickly learned like, okay, yeah, that's not going to happen. So then they're like, oh, we'll push it to May 2021. And then now, they're pushing. So I've had like so mixed. I've had people literally like move their date 3 times. And then I've had people just say, screw it, we're getting married, whatever the regulations are. I did wedding where I was literally, it was just like literally an elopement. I actually had to sign as a
Oh,
witness.
wow.
They didn't invite anyone because I think it was when COVID was at like 5. So it was like
Yeah.
me, photographer, officiant, and the couple. And I was jokes. And then, I mean, that only happened once, but I still had a decent, I was part of a couple elopement days in Niagara. And then I still had a decent amount. Like I think August, it was like the numbers were low. Like you were allowed like 50 people. So I did some outdoor weddings and yeah, well, it wasn't terrible. When it all went down in like April, I was like, oh man, like I'm not shooting a wedding this year. I thought for sure like this is it. But yeah, it picked up.
Yeah.
It really picked up. And then when it kind of ramped up again in the winter, like a couple of months ago, I was like, I mean, it's a bummer for people actually experiencing COVID, but I was like, I don't really care. Like, I don't have any work anyways. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I really hope by May, June, July this summer we can get back to a regular, not regular, but some sort of normalcy, right? With now the vaccine and all that. And I think the school board announced like come September, they want like full classrooms again, extracurricular sports. So I think that will help people psychologically kind of prepare for the summer and the fall, knowing that, I don't know, there's some sort of light at the end of the tunnel. But it's
Yeah.
hard. I get it from both sides. I think if you just want to be married and you're willing to have 10 people at your wedding, then great. I'll happily be there. But I know some people like literally just want to party with all their friends. They already live together. Sometimes they already have kids together. Like if
Yep.
they literally just want to have fun with everyone, then yeah, it makes sense to wait until you can have 200 people on a dance floor.
100%. Yep. I
I
had
think the big thing is just like having, again, customer service really, I don't know, like obviously we run a business, we need to make money, but also just not like upcharging every single thing. And it's hard because you'll inevitably maybe lose the clients if you keep charging, right? So
yeah.
it's tough. It can be tricky to kind of keep moving your date back. I've had to tell certain people, look, like if you keep pushing your date back, I'm gonna have to charge a few $100 more or something. You know what I mean? Just because it's like now you're tapping into next year's wedding season, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
it's tricky.
Yeah. I at first, like obviously, and probably like you too, in the first year, like I wasn't charging anything, extra if they were moving their dates, totally accommodating in that regard. But now that we're into the second year of the pandemic, and then I've got couples, like you said, like some that were supposed to get married last year, had rebooked to this year. Now they're looking at booking out again, like to 2023, 2022. I did change my policy now so that it's like a very small 5%, because I also upped my rates
Yeah,
recently, because I hadn't done it in a long time and it was due for me. Um, and I actually upped my rates, like I think by like 10%, but I'm only charging them a 5% increase.
right.
So they're saving, like, because like some of the packages, it's like a $700 difference from what
Yeah,
they like, because some of these people might have paid, like booked me 3 years ago, right? Like if they were supposed to get married last year, I have some people that booked me 3 years ago. So like they're like they got a package that's $2,400 that's now worth 32,
yeah,
so then they maybe have to pay an extra $125 or something, right?
yeah,
So
definitely.
they're all, my clients are super supportive about it. And again, it comes down to I give them a high level of customer service. So they don't question it. They're like, yep, you deserve that. No problem. Um,
Yeah,
but but there's photographers out there and videographers out there that are charging like 500 plus extra too. Right.
yeah.
So
I mean,
it's hard.
I can see that depending on where people are with their finances. I've always been in a good spot financially where I can kind of be flexible that way. And
Mhm.
but yeah, it can be hard for people that do have
Yeah.
expenses and they can't just keep delaying their income.
But I do know like a lot of photographers, videographers, I've heard of some that are like, I don't know if I can keep doing my business. Like that just to me blows my mind. Like, how could
That's
you not?
hard. That's really hard.
I just could never imagine getting to the point where like couldn't do it anymore, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I feel for those, people that weren't set up, I guess, maybe properly, or didn't have the infrastructure to like weather the storm that we had,
Yeah.
with everything. Because like you said, like I still managed to have not the season I thought I was going to have, but definitely a decent season, enough that I survived.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I know. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't ideal for anyone really. The wedding industry took a big hit for sure, but I feel a lot for the restaurant owners too, just because their overhead's insane. And um, for so long, they couldn't even have anyone, right? So at least we were able to shoot a little bit.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll be paying this. There's going to be some COVID tax in a couple of years. We're going to be paying this off for a long time.
Mhm.
So we're not, even when we're out of it, like with the gatherings, we're still not going to be out of it for a while. Canada, they'll find some new tax. Like, this is the pandemic tax.
Yeah, I know. And then like even like with the new strains of COVID, like the
Yeah.
variants that are coming out, it's just like, where is this going? Like we like to think and be optimistic that like, everything's going to be back to normal tickety boo in the next couple of years. But like, what if something else happens? Like now, like what COVID's taught me is that like you can't kind of count on anything. Like you just kind of got to go with what you know. And
Yeah.
and so couples, that's another thing I like kind of put out there to my couples is like it's great to like if the party's what you want and like push it out, but like there's no guarantee that in 2 years you're going to be able
No.
to have the party you want. So like at some point you're going to have to make a decision that like either we're going to get married or not, because
Yeah.
we don't know with 100% certainty that in
No, no one. Yeah,
2023.
you're right. But I mean,
Yeah,
not that I'm downplaying COVID, but I think now that we have enough data, we kind of know who it's targeting,
yeah,
more of the elderly. But who knows in 3 years if there's a new virus that makes COVID
right,
look like a joke. And it's like, now you're getting the teenagers and 30-year-olds, they're dropping, right? Like,
yeah,
you don't know. What if you
right.
get something with like potency like Ebola and it spreads like COVID?
Like we
Like,
never thought a pandemic was ever going to like shut the
no, no, no.
world down like
Yeah,
for two
you think
years like
this is all
uh,
stuff like 100 years ago, like pre-internet and medicine and all that, right? But
yeah, Spanish flu.
at the end of the day, we're human, and some worldwide bug can just, yeah, come in, and yeah, you have no idea. You're right. There's like so much uncertainty. It's kind of crazy, but
Yeah.
whatever. We're all going somewhere in several years anyways, so just enjoy it.
Exactly. Yeah. Just live in the moment. And like, even like some people are like, well, I really want my grandma there. And so that's why we're pushing it. But, it's awful to say, but like, you don't know how long grandma's got either. Right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know, and I hate for people to just like, keep pushing things off, instead of living in the moment. But
yeah, yeah. My grandma's 95, and
that's amazing.
my daughter, it was her 16th great grandkid, and at Christmas, like, she obviously wanted to hold her, and Lisa and I were like, yeah, we're not gonna like deny that of you. But
Yeah.
some people have their opinion, like, oh my goodness, like, you're letting your grandma hold your newborn, like, how, whatever, like, critical. They're just critical of that. But I'm like, my grandma, like, this is my grandma's choice. She's 95. Like,
Yeah.
come on, let her hold her grandchild, like,
Yeah.
um, but again, at the same time, there's people out there still that, like, they won't shake hands with people, hug them, and it's like that's cool. Like, this is the new world we live in now. But it's
Yeah.
like, then hypothetically you should never hug someone ever again. Like, who knows if they're carrying, like, a virus that, I don't know. It's Everything's just so wild right now, right?
I know.
It's like you almost just have to pick where you're going to put your foundation in it and just kind of stick to that. Like, you kind of have to be rooted in something, some sort of normalcy. Otherwise you'll just go crazy.
Yeah. I know.
So it's tricky. But yeah, like weddings on like dance floors with 200 people, passing champagne bottles around, like, you know what I mean? Like, what, I can't even picture that. Like, that could be years.
I know. And even like I have brides right now that are looking at trying to still get married this year, but then they're like worried about because they're like, I don't know how to do makeup. And like, if we're in a certain color zone, my makeup artist can either only do my eyes
Yeah.
or, you know what I mean? Like they can't do the mouths and the foundation. And it's just like,
Yeah, actually that just happened for me. I did a wedding on Saturday in where was I? East of Toronto, and they were like, yeah, they just did the makeup, did the eyes, and she had her mask on. was like, I don't even want to shoot this. Like you're wearing your mask and your makeup on. And then she went into another room and like did her lips. Um, and it was just like, wow, yeah, that's pretty wow. That's a first for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
Um,
bizarre.
and some people say to me, oh, can you try to make the video edit it in a way where people aren't wearing their masks? And I was like, that's impossible. Like everyone's wearing their mask at the ceremony. You know what I mean? So it's like maybe just don't have a wedding then if you don't want masks in your video.
Yeah. I've had a few couples or a few clients ask me, like, which is why I actually started doing this series, because I had questions like, do we have to wear masks for all of our photos? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I can't even believe that. But I realized like they have no idea, right? And we had just did a whole season, and I don't know about you, but for me, like, I didn't really feel like COVID was such an issue in my weddings last year. Like, it
No,
didn't
the
really
masks weren't
affect
even
the wedding.
mandatory until like the fall, I think.
If you were inside, yeah.
So yeah, but like outdoor weddings,
Oh
I
yeah.
was doing a lot of outdoor ceremonies, and there was like 100 people there unmasked, like
Yeah.
in the summer. It was like that wasn't even breaking the law. That was just how it was.
I did 2 weddings where people blew bubbles at the bride and groom
Nice. COVID's in the air,
walking down the
literally.
aisle. I was just like, is this happening right now? But yeah, like, just so that they understand, like, yeah, if you're getting married inside, yes, you will have masks on inside. If any of your wedding is inside, people will be wearing
Yeah,
masks at some point or another, and they will be in pictures wearing masks. But for the most part, like your portraits and stuff, like your formal stuff, I was like, I mean, I'm not going to tell you to not wear a mask. Like, if you decide that and that's kind of
yeah,
how I put it out, right? Like, people in the bridal party, things like that. Like, I would never say, okay, guys, take off your masks. Like, that's a liability thing for me, I guess, in a sense too, right? So it's just like, your comfort level, right? But
yeah, of course.
but the fact that couples weren't even sure about that kind of stuff, I thought, having a series or something like where couples can like get some information and some advice from people in the industry, in different areas on
Yeah,
how having a wedding during a pandemic actually is. Because
yeah,
I think that's helped save, actually, I know it's helped save a few of my weddings from moving, because now they're getting some information that's making them feel like they're a little bit more comfortable, and they're just more knowledgeable to make that informed decision on,
yeah,
what to do about their wedding.
totally. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, and I actually did an interview a couple weeks ago, like, even like couples for stag and does, right? I put it out to my clients, like, what do you guys want to know about? What is, you know, pending for you, or what's bugging you, and you need information on. Someone said, like, I'd love to know how to do a stag and doe during a pandemic. And
Yeah.
I ended up finding a bride and a groom who did a virtual stag and doe and raised 10 grand.
Oh wow.
So I interviewed her.
Nice.
And she had some great tips and great value on that. So um do you have any kind of like words of wisdom or sage advice for couples who are trying to get married in 2021 during the pandemic that is continuing?
Well, I mean, I am optimistic now that we're entering the colored zones, and I do believe by the spring and summer we'll probably be able to have a decent amount of people outdoor. Um, but yeah, I would encourage people, like the masks is just sort of how that's just, I don't know, that's just kind of our life right now. Like I wouldn't not get married just because, you could have some photos or video with people wearing masks. Like all of the ceremonies I've done, the venue has allowed like the bride and to come down the aisle without wearing her mask. So that's nice. But um yeah, I would say that I still think there's normalcy. People are for
Mhm.
the most part still just having fun, and it's like weddings are family oriented. So even the fact that you can see your aunts and uncles and cousins and friends is just fun too. Even if it's limited. It's a wedding day. It's great, right? So I think if people still want to get married this year, they should, because they're allowed to. And you might not be able to have the big guest list, but um it won't take away from how much fun you have, truly. If anything, like the more intimate vibe is cool because you can actually connect with people more and have like longer conversations with people. Whereas if you have like 300 people at your wedding and you do a receiving line, it's all sort of just like surface level, like hi, hello, hello, hello. Okay, next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like the smaller weddings, you can, like, if there's like 50 people there, you can actually like spend time catching up with people, right? So there's I think there's going to be a new wave of weddings this year that will come to us that like we haven't even booked yet. Like I had that last year. I had weddings like 3 weeks in advance. They're like, hey, it's like June 1st. They're like, hey, are you available at the end of the month? I'm like, well, yeah, now I am. So
Yeah.
hopefully that happens some more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
just
yeah.
I just booked a wedding for this June, like today.
Oh, nice. There you
Yeah.
go.
So I'm like, and that's, I mean, I've had weddings though in the past, even before COVID, that like very rare, but it happens where I'll get like a couple that'll book me like a month before their wedding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I'm excited. I think it'll be a good summer. I really do.
I think so too. And I feel like I feel like the vibe on like weddings during COVID is just like everyone's just there to like really support the couple and have a good time. And it's just so different now. Like you said, like the intimacy of it, it just like it's a nicer, I don't know, it's cozy and
Yeah,
it's sweet
it's
and it's
different.
really about the couple. Like it's just like really about the couple. And
Yeah.
there's so many ways you can entertain your guests now. Like I interviewed Shane from Sound of Harmony.
Oh yeah.
He like he's so good at what he does. And his like he does like music trivia like at one of the weddings that we shot together or that
Yeah.
we did together. He had like a music trivia kind of deal going on and like name that tune and trivia about the bride and groom, and it was just like everyone just had so much fun. Like it was just like being at like a pub night, you know.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah. He's probably had to DJs have probably had to really innovate because
Yeah,
they're a lot of DJs probably were like, yeah, well, we're not having you at our wedding, but if you can approach it in a way of no, like sure we can have a dance party, but like I can still entertain everyone and play good background music and do some games and there's definitely still um, a market for that.
yeah. Did you have a lot of couples like downgrade their packages or the time that they have you? Like
Yeah, definitely.
I did at the beginning, but I really started encouraging my couples to like just keep your package. I mean, if they had a 10-hour package, then no. Like we're gonna probably shave a couple hours off their package. But I still feel like couples were kind of jumping to like, oh, I just need 3 hours. And it's like, well, you're still having like a dinner and stuff after, and you're still doing getting ready. Like I can you you should still have that stuff captured. And even more so now.
Yeah.
I found it to be more important, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm
You
same
know?
with me. I agree.
Yeah. Like I
I
think you still need a good 6 hours of coverage for a more intimate affair.
definitely. Oh
4 to
yeah.
6 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Which is why I did start. I was saying to people like, yeah, I'll charge less. Obviously, it's going to be a shorter video and less hours of work. And yeah, I was booking a lot of those packages last year, and I did a couple of elopement days too. So I think I did like 5 elopements in one day at Kurt's Orchards with Dan. Do you know Danielle Shaw Events?
Yeah.
No, here she put that on, and that was great to be part of one of those
Yeah.
experiences.
I've always
Obviously,
wanted to do one of those.
it was that was actually like really stressful for me. Weddings don't actually stress me out, but that was stressful because it was like every single wedding has to like be on time.
Yeah.
I remember the one was like just wrapping up, and then the bride was like almost done her makeup. I was like running over to the house. It's like, yeah, I don't. This needs to be executed a little bit. There needs to be more time between each elopement.
You're like barely even getting to say hi. You're just like kind of running in and just like,
Hello, I'm Dave. All right.
let's go. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to say to couples out there that are booking their weddings and looking to hire videography or cinematographer for their wedding day?
Um, I mean, if you want to have a fun videographer who will become like family very quickly and you'll have a blast with, then I think I'm your guy. But no, I mean, truly though, I still think people should get married if they can, if we're still in colored zones. Um, the weddings I've been going to have all been great vibes. Even if it's 25 people, 50 people, it's still enough to have fun. I would encourage people to keep their dates. Hopefully they're not losing deposits and spending more. So it's a different world we live in now, but we can keep going with it. We can just kind of roll with it. Cause like you said, people are, if you can push back a year, you don't know what next year is going to be like. So if you got a date locked in and you're allowed to do it, you should definitely do it.
Awesome. Dave, thank you so much for being on the show and letting me interview you. It's such a pleasure. And I just love getting to know you even more. I just think you're phenomenal. And I can't wait to work with you again. I know it'll happen sooner or later.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me on. This was great.
Yeah.
It was fun to chat about this, and yeah, appreciate your time. And it was awesome, awesome to chat. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys, thank you for watching again. If you like this show and you like what we're doing here, please like, share, and subscribe. It's so important. We want to get our messages out there in the world so we can help as many couples as possible. And that's all I got for now. So have a lovely day.